Hello, 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 hello. Oh, what a great day it is today. Because today is August 2nd, 2023. And I am 81 years old today. Yay! Who would have thought it? Of course, I reset. I'm not 81, I'm 71. If I could give away, what you think? Maybe I can say 61? I mean, I'm going to go as far as I can. If I can do 61, that'll work perfectly. But as bad brother, I know. Anyway, I'm 81. Okay? And I'm glad to be here another day. I'm glad you joined me on a slice of life, the journey. People write books. People do memoirs. I'm doing a virtual book. I was trying to decide what I was going to do when my friends asked me to write something. They said, "You're so funny, you should write something." I don't know how to write this that I'm talking about. So I said, you know what? Cornell always talking about digital is in. I'm going to do digital. So I think we left off in the 80s. If we didn't, I'm going to go back to the 80s. I think we got to Peachtree North, where I lived in Peachtree North apartments before they turned to condo at Peachtree and North Avenue. It used to be called Peachtree North. And that was a great place to live. But I thought about it. I said, let me look back at the places. My daughter and I, we moved all the time. We were forced to move from where we were initially as a family. And from there we went to Landrum Arms, where I had the nursery school. And then from Landrum Arms, I was on a second marriage. We lived on Harbin. And then I escaped there and went to Gary, came back and went to Washington Road. And I think I left Washington Road and went to, after we got found, left from Washington Road and went to Macon Drive, I believe. Elizabeth Young by this time was in my life. If she was in my life before, I'm not sure. But she found us a very nice place to stay on Macon Drive. They had just put those condos up there. If you all know where that is. And I think I didn't have a car either. I didn't have a car. Yeah, some kind of way I didn't have a car on Macon Drive. So I used to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. This was my thing. Listen to single parents out there. Single parenting is something, especially when you don't have support. I didn't have any support. I didn't want, my parents kept trying to help me. I can't do that. It was enough. It was hard. So I didn't tell people a lot of things. I just tried to do the best I could. So I lived on Macon Drive. I used to walk from the condos. Do you know those condos that may be apartments now? Up to the service station, up a little further going east, where my daughter would get the bus. So I walked to that bus stop. And then I walked back by myself. It was dark. But I didn't want her to walk by herself. How you see kids out walking by themselves? I wasn't going to send a child out to walk by herself. I mean, two ladies didn't necessarily mean anything, but I just said I had to be the one to walk by myself. And so let me tell you, one day I said, you know what, Evelyn? I said, Mommy's gonna get a car. That's what I said. I said, now, I don't want you letting anybody in. I want you to lock the door. Don't talk to anybody. You can talk on the phone, but I'm going to get a car. I said, when I come back, I will have a car. I got a taxi. To take me to Cleveland Avenue and Stewart Avenue. If you all old school will remember, Stewart Avenue is now Metropolitan Parkway. But if you remember, there were car dealerships all up and down the street. And I said, you know what? I'm going to get a car. Now, mind you, I don't know how. And I didn't know anything about manifesting back then. But I used to I used to just say something, and I would say, and I'm gonna get it. So I said, your mama's gonna get a car. Are we still in the 80s? We're still in the 80s. We're gonna be in the 80s a minute, because I have a whole thing that you all don't would be just so surprised to know I even did. When I went and looked at it, I said, I did all that with those people. Vanna White is one of them. That'll get you to listen next week. No, I mean tomorrow. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. Anyway, today is the birthday day. And today I'm talking about making up your mind. Making up your mind that you're going to have something. Making up your mind that you got a kid. You walking back and forth. Just because you're able to walk and make it home past the trees, the other apartments, park cars on the street. You're young yourself. That doesn't necessarily mean, well, age doesn't have anything to do with it, really. But I walked my daughter to the bus stop. And she got off the bus somewhere else in the evening. Her grandfather, I think he was still picking her up. I'm not sure. I can't remember. Let me just get this part. I sat on Metropolitan Parkway in this man's office. I look back on it now. Did he just want me to sit there with him? But he said, just sit here with me. A car is going to come in. I said, look. I said, I have a daughter. I got to have something reliable. And it was a buy here, pay here. And different cars came in. People trade the cars out. So I got a traded car. Something's traded. So he said, I'm going to get you something that I would put my wife in. That was a good sign. I sat there all day. But at the end of the day, I drove myself home. I told my daughter, we have a car. And you don't have to go to that bus stop anymore. I don't know why it brought tears back to my eyes. I guess I remember sitting there all day saying, Lord, I need a car. I got a child. I got to get the Delta Airlines. I don't know who came and picked me up. Somebody would come and pick me up. I regret I don't remember. I don't know if it was Pam or Laverne, but I had somebody come pick me up, take me to work. They came out of their way to do that for me. So I came home with the car. It didn't have any air. I didn't care. It only had AM radio back then. I didn't care. It was yellow. I didn't care. It was a Ford. I didn't care. That car lasted me a good while. A good while. And then I went to work. Frances Bishop was somebody who just took a liking to me and my daughter. I talked about her in the last episode. She worked at Delta Airlines as a white woman. And her daughter ended up going to school with my daughter. They ended up going to school together. And when the kids got ready to go travel in different places, Frances always went to make sure that Evelyn and this little girl. But the car thing got to me because it was like I left like at 9 o'clock or something like that. Because you had to get up there early, supposedly, to get the car. And it was like 5 or 6 or 7 o'clock before I got back home. I didn't eat all day. My daughter was so glad to see that car. Anyway, I worked and I had the car. Well, something happened. I have a song, Something Happened Today, that made me think of it. Is this working right here? This is all my new stuff. This is a new blouse, a new shirt. The lady said, you gotta get it. The top that I wanted to go with the skirt. She said, you can't wear that, I don't think. Ma'am, it was a it wasn't a halter top. What they call that kind of top? Like a brassiere kind of top, but they don't call it that. What do they call that kind of top? They look like a bra, but anyway, all this wasn't gonna work. So, I don't know. I digress. So anyway, plus it helps me get me back off of the emotional kick. I got the car. That was a Macon Drive, and it was Elizabeth Young. She liked me also. She was a soror. She liked. I mean, she liked my hustle. You know, people appreciate. You know, if you're not a woman out begging, I ask nobody for anything. No, ma'am, no, sir. That's my child. That's my child. Okay, that I carry that child, so I need to take care of that child. She has to come here. I don't worry about nobody else doing anything for me. I need to take care of it, whatever that took. So I went and got this yellow car. Well, one day the car started acting up. It stayed a while, and Francis said, "What's going on with you in the car?" I said, "Oh, it stops, but it's okay. I try to keep it fixed." She said, "You out here on the road with a kid?" She said, "I got a car. Nobody's using." It was an Oldsmobile, 4-door, AM/FM radio. No, it didn't have air. It didn't have air because Danny Glover rode in my car. I gotta tell you, that's all part of Vanna White. Ask Vanna. Ask her. Who all y'all that know Vanna White? Go ask her. Go ask Danny Glover. All y'all know Danny Glover. Let me get some more names of stuff that I did. It was a great job. Edna Farley, the late Edna Farley, and Laura Farley, in Fort Lauderdale. They got me hooked up, but let me just leave that. Anyway, she said, "You can't ride around with a child and you a woman in a car that breaks down on the highway. What? You can't do that. I'm not gonna let you do that. When I got a car that's just sitting here, nobody's using it, take this car." So the car, last time it broke down, she said, "That's it. Frances Bishop, retired Delta Airlines." I'm grateful to her today. So I rode in the blue Oldsmobile. 4 doors. You know, it looked good. It was good. It got Alvin and I going. We're still in the 80s, right? We're still in the 80s. Oh, so let me go back to Macon Drive. So I started doing Richard Simmons. Ask Richard Simmons. Call Richard up. Y'all know who Richard Simmons is? And ask him about coming to Atlanta. Who was that black woman? The reason why I know they remember, because they only had 2 black women, 2 black people. I don't know if that was a man or woman. In the whole United States of America. That did what we did. 2. I asked. And they said, "Not but you and somebody in Colorado." I was like, wow. So let's go back to Richard Simmons. He was my first client. And I didn't have the car. That's right. And she said, Laurel said, not Laurel, but Edna, said, "You need transportation to be able to do this." I said, "Okay. Let me tell you how it happened." I don't even know how it happened. I was always somewhere, I guess. Somebody told somebody. It was God. That's how it happened. And I didn't have, we didn't have cell phones. And so how did I get a message? Because I went in the hallway of Delta Airlines. Do you remember when Delta was over at Greenbrier? I worked over there with the duck and the lake. That's Tyler Perry studio now. That used to be Delta Airlines property. I worked over there, still a secretary, still doing just what they call me, the pass coordinator. They gave me a title. I had to work. Anyway, that's where I was over in that area. And So I went to the hallway, and the lady said, call back Colette. So I went to the hallway on my break, and I called Miss Edna Farley back. And she said, oh, you sound great, and dee-dee-dee-da-da, and you think you can do this? And I said, yes, I can do, yes, yes, yes. And she said, so I'll let you know who your first client is. We just need somebody in Atlanta. We got more people coming to Atlanta now. This was the 80s, so people weren't coming to Atlanta. They were going to New York, LA, Chicago, different, but they didn't make it to Atlanta, so they started having more more authors were coming to Atlanta. This was just if you were an author and you wanted to be on WAGA 5, it wasn't Fox 5, it was WAGA 5, AIB television, WSB television, and wherever else they may have, and the book signings, usually at Barnes and Noble, and sometimes it's depending on if it was a specific book, it would be like in a small, we used to have a lot of great bookstores in Atlanta. Oh my God, you all just don't know. I mean, just bookstores everywhere. I'm a book nerd. So let's go on with this. Didn't have car one. Didn't have car one. I just felt like I would, whenever I got it, I would figure it out. Well, guess what? My first client was Richard Simmons. And guess what? He had a limo. A limo picked him up. I'm like, go ahead, Lord. So anyway, I had to go in the limo to pick up Mr. Simmons. I had to sit in the front. And with the driver. Because I guess maybe he was not, I don't know why I had to sit in the front. I just sat in the front because it didn't matter really. You did whatever the client wanted. So you want me to sit in the front? Fine. Because it was my first one. And I was just so happy. I was sitting in the front, I was sitting in the trunk, on top of the car. It made a difference. So Mr. Simmons he had his book. They sent you the book early. Oh no, they sent you the book. So I got lots of books somewhere. I don't know where all those books are. So I would get my books. I got some signed books, people. Woo! My client list was off the chain. But anyway, so Richard Simmons was my first one. But here's your funny story. I'm still in the 80s. So I was also dating somebody in Los Angeles. And Mr. Simmons was here 2 days. And I didn't have a car, remember? The first one, I thought I was going to get fired. Oh, I didn't know any better. I'm going to tell you, was I 40? I may have been 40 something. Maybe, I don't know. What's age got to do with it anyway? Since I'm 81 today, going on 71, going on 61. Anyway, so I had to go to LA at the same time Mr. Simmons had to go to the airport. And he had the car. So I was like, Evelyn, we're going to meet Mr. Simmons. Get your bags ready. So when they came to pick me up first, limo picked me up first, I put our bags in the back. I told the driver, I'm going to ride to the airport with Mr. Simmons so you don't have to take me back home. We go. And then I told Mr. Simmons, I said, Mr. Simmons, I need to go to the airport. I hope it's okay. Well, by this time, I got a kid standing with me. You know he wasn't going to say no. So I think he let us sit in the back. Or he let Evelyn sit back there. I have to ask her. Did she sit back there with Mr. Simmons? Anyway, it was it was fun. It was fun. And anyway, so he gets out the car and I make sure he's all right and make sure we do everything for him first. And then the driver was understanding. He was like, this black woman. Plus, you know, he didn't know what to think because I was a black woman handling Mr. Simmons. You see, who was just exceptionally nice. And I hope that some of these people remember when they came to Atlanta. The reason why I thought they might remember when they came to Atlanta with their book tour, because it was just a black woman, me. They might remember the one black woman they had a book tour, Vanna White, me and I don't know. But anyway, so that's the no car story. And then I knew I had to do this. So look what happened in the yellow car. As long as I had the yellow car, I don't think I got a client in the yellow car. Or maybe somebody had a limo. I know Vanna White had a limo, I believe. But a lot of them had limos. So back then, you know, limos are carry limo. They had a Warner. It was Time Warner was the big name on the contract, and the secondary name was this fabulous woman. Look her up, Edna Farley, brilliant PR person. Never met her a day. I met her daughter coming through the airport because I still was at work. You know, I met her daughter, but never met them. And then I did that from, my daughter was 14, so it was in the 80s. And I did this book tour thing until breast cancer in 2001. Never said a word, never discussed it, and didn't do a whole lot later because there was a woman I thought liked me. She didn't like me. She wanted my business. She wanted to have lunch with me, and I thought it was neat because our kids had gone to Northwestern together. Oh, they, not together, but they were up there at the same time. And I didn't know she wanted my business. And I didn't care who did it also, but I know she wanted hers and mine. Anyway, I stopped doing a whole lot of it. I thought about it. You know, sometimes, once again, God hands you the gift, and you don't know what to do with it. I didn't have anybody to tell me how to make this bigger or better. And I think this woman did make it big. It was her thing to do. It wasn't my thing to do. It was my thing to add money to help me with my daughter. That's what it was. So that's the Macon Drive. I started off with Macon Drive. I didn't get any further, did I? The Macon Drive. We're still in the 80s. Something else happened in Macon Drive. Oh, I wrote this book, remember, Guide to the Second Time Bride. Well, who marries 3 times by the time they're 40? Because I didn't think you're supposed to have a girl child and not be married to somebody. You know, I found out later that wasn't the right thing to do. And then I decided that maybe that wasn't still the right thing to do because it turned into a business arrangement. And then that didn't work out either. So where's R.C. Blakes? You would love my stories. I would be the one that you would just go, oh my God, God really has taken care of you, girl. Anyway, so we're still in the 80s. I saw Macon Drive was good. I had a friend named Roy Patterson, Dr. Sandra Patterson's husband. He was my good buddy. We did a show we got cable awards for a show called Black Network. Black Network. Because I did TV by that time. I was doing TV. You know, I did radio. Let's talk about radio. Where did I live when I did WCLK? And I hung out. You know, I have a person who does not want to give me credit for being a founding member of the Atlanta Association of Black Journalists, AABJ. I was over at Reggie's house as much as anybody else was. I was with the media women, but I was at Reggie Eve's house. Hal Lamar tell you who was there. And this guy keeps saying, you're not. So they never honor me. The Atlanta Association of Black Journalists never honors me. Because this person swears I wasn't there. And anybody in their right mind knows they know I was there. And I'll have Reggie Eves he's not alive, but it's a well-known author that came out of that group. I can find him, and Hal Lamar is still living. All the people who used to be in that basement, if you know where you are, if you get a chance to listen to this, you know, we could talk about how we started. The reason why we started it was because, you know, you need to have an organization for it. It was just too much going on. The racial, yes, wow. It was something. Anyway, I was with the Zanona's group. Zanona Clayton had a group called Media Women, National Association of Media Women. And I traveled with her, and I became president of the Atlanta chapter, along with Pauline Morgan White and Miranda McKenzie and who else? We were just a good group. We were an excellent group of women. We worked together. Nobody was jealous of anybody. That's why I just talked to Simone the other day, and I was just telling her, I'm glad that she introduced us to the National Association of Media Women, and I'm glad Mrs. Ware was in it, and Carolyn Willis of the Eastern Airlines. It was Alexa Scott. I mean, we were just women who worked in the media. I was on WCLK with Mitch Faulkner. ASHLEY and Stan Washington let me come up there and do something called Third World News. That's when WCLK was up in McFeeters Dennis building on Clark College's campus. It wasn't Clark Atlanta University then. And you ran up to the third floor, and Frank Edwards was he there? That's Frank Edwards came from Pulaski Elementary School with me out of Gary, Indiana. He came to Clark College, and since then they've named him a building or a room after him because he's done so much in the media. But anyway, I digress. That's what's I wanted to always be in radio. I love radio, and so I got a chance to do it thanks to ASHLEY Abiku, and thanks to Stan Washington and Mitch Faulkner. And then I got a whole nother story with Mitch Faulkner. We had a long, long relationship. Eric T. Moore came to the station, but we were all friends. I'm talking about a group of people with just friends. When Mitch Faulkner opened his business with his brother Arbesta, that's how I got into. My daughter got into business with all of them. So she had come out of Northwestern. So that's 90s. I don't want to go too far ahead. But it's just, I became the interview coach for Dallas Austin based on, now I got to think, I know the woman very well. Don't worry, I'm going to get all my names together. But I'm just saying to you, so the Lord, all these things just came to me. They were blessings that just came to me. Because this is what he told me in the 4th grade. I guess the Lord was saying, I've given you the boat, you get a boat. You said, Lord, why did I die? He said, I sent you a boat, I sent you a rope, I sent you another person, and you missed it. I sent you everything to get you out that water. And you drowned because you didn't catch hold of anything. And that's what I feel sometimes about myself. But I don't want to get too far from anybody that's watching that's a single parent. When you make up your mind that that's what you're going to do. You're going to do the best that you can. That's what I did at Delta Airlines. I came out the airport. Now I'm back in the 80s. I'm going backwards a little bit. I need you to understand what it means to say this. I got to do this. I got to work. I got to see about this child. I got to go get a car. I got to live on Macon Drive. And I'm going to tell you quickly, I went from Macon Drive to Ralph McGill Drive to Peachtree North to Donnelly West End and back in the SWATs. But we moved around. Before that, I was in College Park, just everywhere I could be. Because every September, my daughter had to be somewhere to get on the bus to go to school. So whatever's going on in my life, however I was trying to pay whatever bill, in September, I had to be stable. Back then, the kids went to school in September. They go in August now. But whenever I had to be stable, you had to stabilize and make something happen for your child. Make something happen. Do whatever you need to do to make something happen for that child. Don't be asking nobody. Do it yourself. Get it done. Although I know sometimes you do need help. I did have somebody pick me up. I did have Elizabeth Young. I did have Frances Bishop. I did have Pam Hicks. I had lots of people, women coming together. Men said, not many men, but women coming together. Roy Patterson was one of the men who said, you can't live over here. It's another person, I can't think of his name. But they said, you can't, no, Georgianne. So just having to push Wayne McMillan was my mainstay when I get to the airport. We'll talk about Wayne. Anyway, my time is running out. I don't know what I was trying to do today. I didn't get past the 80s. This is terrible. Somebody said you breezed through the 60s and the 70s. I did. I'm trying to give you some 80s. A lot went on in the 80s. But getting up that morning and said, Mama going to get a car. It brings tears to my eyes every time I say it. Because I just remember, you got to make up your mind to be that mama. I said, Mama going to get a car. I don't know who that brother is that got me that yellow Ford up there on Stewart Avenue. You all don't know anything about Stewart Avenue. All the best cars were up and down Stewart Avenue. All the best cars in Atlanta. Car dealerships. Whoo! That's why you see all that vacant land on Metropolitan. Those were car dealerships. And you could get you a good car. All right. I'm not gonna go. I don't think I can do a whole lot more. I'm glad to have a birthday. We're gonna talk some more about the 80s because Mr. V's was in the 80s. So y'all know nothing about Mr. V's. Mr. V's figure 8. Oh, see, the 80s. I guess I was pretty good. I was in between 30 and 40, 30 something 40. You know, that's not a bad age to be. And I was fresh at Delta Airlines. Lord have mercy, we got some stories. But that's why getting to 81 is good. Because I do have some stories. And my experiences I want to share. I don't know how to write all this in a book. I don't know how to get this look in a book. I don't know how to get these tears in a book. I don't know how to get how I feel in a book. So I know how to do it this way, though. Today is my birthday. I'm just sitting here. It's okay. It's August the 2nd, 2023. I have some people missing in my life that I wish were here. Did I talk about the Ponders? So we have to talk about the Ponders too. They did a lot to help me. Ellen Wade. God. How I got over. How I got over. I love you, and you can't do anything about it.